Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about another war in the Middle East. The United States and Israel have attacked Iran for the second time in less than a year. And this war is going to be, at least from what Donald Trump has stated, going to be very decisive, perhaps even prolonged, and even he is expecting American casualties from this war. The goal is to bring about regime change in Iran. So I'm going to talk about what the US objectives in this war are, what Iran is trying to achieve, and will Iran survive this? Will Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran, will it survive this attack from the US? And what is more likely to happen? So I might even discuss a few scenarios going forward, what might happen. It's very difficult to fully predict what is happening there because partly my knowledge, at least of the Iranian capabilities, is limited from what they do rather than what they are claiming. So this is what I think the United States is trying to do. I think the US at the moment, the broad overall strategy is to degrade the current regime to such an extent that it collapses and it is replaced by a pro-Israeli government. The United States is not aspiring to establish a democracy in Iran. All they want is a pro-Israeli government, a government that will be subordinate to Israeli hegemony in the Middle East. And like the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, said that a regime that will help Israel essentially establish its domination of the Middle East and continue to expand territory in the region. And so they want a government in Tehran which will not offer any resistance to Israeli expansion in the Middle East. So that is clearly the overall goal, to establish a pro-Israeli regime in this. There is no US interest other than whatever Israel wants. In this war, it is very difficult to explain or justify if you were to look at it from an America first perspective. But if you were to look at it from Israel first, Israel last perspective, then it is very easy to understand what the United States and Israel are trying to do there. So number one, I think the United States' goal is to target the leadership of the Iranian government. They want to kill Ayatollah Khamenei and others, the president, the foreign minister. They want to kill off as many leaders as possible. Usually, you do not kill the leadership of your enemies because then there's chaos that ensues when there's an absence of leadership. But that's probably what the United States hopes to do, that they want to create a chaos. So the goal is to first and foremost try and kill as many of the leaders of the government as possible. They have already targeted and attacked and to a great extent destroyed Khamenei's compound and others. There are reports from Iran that the National Security Council chair, Ali Khamenei or something, was already been killed. But the Iranians are claiming that Khamenei and the president have survived, even though they may not be in touch at the moment. So they're probably in hiding somewhere. So the number one goal is to target the leadership. Number two is to target whatever of the nuclear infrastructure is still standing. President Trump, after the Midnight Hammer assault 8 months ago, said that, look, we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear capabilities, but it appears that that is not true. So there, whatever is left standing, apparently even B-2s were used last night to drop munitions on Fordo, especially from high up. And so the US is definitely going to destroy whatever they are, enrichment facilities, research facilities, anything that has anything to do with nuclear, civil or military projects. They are going to be destroyed by the US and Israel combination. In many ways, Iranian scientific shall we say, community will be diminished, and they are going to be set back decades from their research. That is the goal to do. The third goal is obviously to destroy. The Iranian government until recently had two main weapons. One was its proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis, and the other was its ballistic missile and drone program, with which it was threatening its neighbors and was also threatening Israel. So already in the first round of attacks on Iran, Houthis and Hezbollah and others have been so fully neutralized to the extent that they are not going to figure in this war as of now. There's nothing coming out of the Houthis, nothing coming out of the Hezbollah at all. Neither statements nor any action do we see. So one arm of Iran was already cut off. Now the other arm is its ballistic missile and drone program, and that is what is being targeted. So there is heavy bombardment on their missile launch pads where ballistic missiles are developed, where they are built, where they are launched from. Iran has acquired some new Russian air defense systems. Even those are being targeted. It is reported that Israel has launched its biggest ever air armada. Over 200 fighter jets from Israel were involved, and overall over 300 jets were involved from including the US. The US is attacking from ground as well as from the sea. So the third goal is to destroy the ballistic missiles factories, launch pads, capabilities. So basically, its military infrastructure is being targeted, kill the leadership, destroy the nuclear infrastructure, destroy the ballistic missile infrastructure. And finally, the fourth one is to destroy the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So they're going to go after this elite military wing of the Iranian government. So IRGC has been the one that has developed these proxies, has been the main, shall we say, teeth of the Iranian regime, both at home as well as in the region, and that is being targeted through this massive attack. I think when both Israel and the United States said that this battle could go on for days, I think once they have destroyed the infrastructure, the defense infrastructure, they are going to go after IRGC. Because without IRGC, I don't think this regime can stand. So that is going to be what targeting is going to happen. They're going to destroy the businesses, the capabilities, and maybe even kill a large number of members of IRGC. The goal is to make sure that this regime becomes so weak that it collapses. And there are people, experts here in Washington, who are telling me that the goal apparently is to ensure that the traditional military, or called Artesh, will take over. So the Iran has two military capabilities. One is IRGC, which was developed after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. This is a more ideological, more aggressive, more cutting edge, more loyal to Ayatollah Khamenei wing of the military, maybe about 200,000, 150 to 200,000 strong. And then there is the traditional Iranian army, which has existed since the Iranian Shah times. That is the traditional military, navy, air force, and army, which is supposedly more professional and less ideological. So there are those who believe that what the United States wants to do is to attack IRGC and destroy it and hope that the Iranian army will take over. So it's like look at what happened in Venezuela. What the United States did in Venezuela was basically to attack and destroy, nothing. They just got rid of Maduro, one person, and they kept the entire regime intact, but with a different outlook. So as soon as Maduro was removed, the same people who were in charge of Venezuela continued to remain in Venezuela, but they became more compliant to the United States, more willing to do so. The US is hoping to achieve the same kind of change in Iran, that they get rid of IRGC, they get rid of this extremely hostile, ideological regime, and then hope that the Iranian army will take over and be more moderate. Look, whatever the Americans and the Israelis are going to say, that we want a more moderate regime, we want a more democratic regime, all that is rubbish. What they really want to say is we want a government that is pro-Israel, will do what Israel wants, and will be unwilling to resist anything that Israel does in the region or does to the Palestinians, etc. So whether Israel starts building more settlements in the West Bank, whether it annexes Gaza, whether it annexes parts of Saudi Arabia and Syria and others, they don't want even a peep out of Tehran. That's the kind of regime the United States and Israel wants to install in Tehran. So this talk about an alternative to the current IRGC is basically to establish a kind of sovereignty or hegemony of Israel in Tehran. And I think that the United States seems to be committed to doing this no matter what. it may cost the US. There have been a lot of dire predictions made by some analysts, and I think they're wrong. I do not think Iran has the capabilities to really punish Israel and the US both. So yes, it's going to cause some trouble. Yes, they shot a missile at Bahrain. It has hit American, shall we say, bases in Qatar, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, United Arab Emirates. There are also reports that it has hit an American base in Saudi Arabia. Well, that is fine, but there are absolutely no casualties, not much damage, only one person. Unfortunately, a migrant worker died, I think, in Abu Dhabi, UAE, and that is it. There have been attacks on Israel too, but there were sirens, and the damage is minimal in Israel. The people who did get injured were people who fell while running, and there was some debris, etc. So Iran so far has not been able to deliver on the dire threats that it made about punishing the US or Israel. But you must understand that this is for Iran an existential struggle. The current regime, if they just sit there, they are going to finish. They're going to die. They're going to disappear. So they're going to throw everything that they have in the region. Will they be able to block the Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz and oil and cause the damage to the global economy? That was one of the risks of this war. We will see whether that really transpires. Apparently, one of the Iranian Navy frigates was also attacked today and was severely damaged. There are also reports that a lot of civilians have died. Over 1,200 people have died in Iran already. A women's school was targeted, and anywhere between 50 to 83 girls, young girls, have already died. But this is typical Israeli fashion. They killed thousands and thousands of people in Gaza with American money, American weapons, American support, American protection, and also Arab protection. Remember that when Israel was attacked by Iran, Arab countries rallied to defend Israel, Jordan, and other countries. So what is going to happen? The US wants a regime change. Can it achieve that? What the US can achieve militarily is to weaken the Iranian government completely, leading to a collapse. Will they be able to completely destroy IRGC? I don't think so. Will the Iranian army then fight IRGC to take over? Will they just be able to walk in and say, okay, Ayatollah Khamenei is dead, the president is dead, now the commander of the Iranian army is going to take over? And if he takes over, is he going to bring about democracy? No. Are they going to fly in Raza Pahlavi's son and make him the king of Iran again, like 1953? I'm not very sure. And as the casualties of civilians mounts, remember that the United States and Israel are not very careful when they attack these countries. The US has killed, according to Mike Huckabee, the American ambassador to Israel, the United States has killed more civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan than Israel has in Gaza. And we know that Israel has killed over 73,000 people in Gaza, most of them women and children. So we know that the United States and Israel don't really care about civilians in these countries. And so as the civilian casualty count increases, will the Iranian people rally behind this regime? Or will they attack the regime? Will there be more protests happening? So we don't know, but if there are protests, then you will find this horrible vision of the Iranian government, or at least the current regime, fighting Israel and US abroad and fighting its own citizens at home. That will be the worst case scenario, I think, for Iran, because that's going to become very bloody and brutal, because the Iranian public is defenseless. They don't have iron domes to protect themselves. They don't have missiles or armor, etc. So it's quite possible that if they rise, as Trump wants them to, there could be thousands and thousands of casualties. And if this war, if the US walks away from it after after Israel is satisfied that we have degraded Iran's capabilities to threaten it, then perhaps the US might just leave Iran in a chaos. And this is going to be a mess for everybody in the region. Can you imagine what happened last time that when US tried to precipitate regime change in Iraq? In this century, the United States, this is the US's third attempt to bring about regime change in the greater Middle East. They tried it in Afghanistan, 20 years of occupation, $2 trillion or more spent, thousands of American lives lost, literally hundreds of thousands of Afghans dead. And what do we have? A Taliban government. We are back to what it was like in 2001. Absolutely no improvement in Afghanistan. In fact, it has become worse than what it was. And it is poor and it's devastated. And Iraq was an anti-Iran authoritarian government. Now it has become a pro-Iran and certainly not pro-Israel. So the US failed both in Iraq as well as in Afghanistan, bringing about change and establishing a democracy or whatever. So the chances of that happening in Iran, I think, are minuscule. What is likely to happen is that this government will collapse, and in its place, there will be chaos. The worst case scenario that I see is a civil war between IRGC and the Iranian army, if the Iranian army decides to do what Trump and Israel want, which is to take over and establish a pro-Israeli government in Tehran. So the scenarios look really very bad to me as we go forward. I will continue to keep an eye on the developments and share them with you. So thank you for watching Conversations. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like this video, press the bell icon so you get more notifications. And don't forget to share it with your socio-political network. I will be continuing to monitor the situation. So I will be coming back to you periodically with more updates and more commentaries, both through video and written commentaries. You can go to LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you can see that one of my brief takes on the beginning of this war has already been published. So thank you for watching Conversations. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtada Khan. Take care. Bye.